So, Wild Blue Yonder was definitely the best one of the three specials. It was pretty much everything that the show should be, especially in a more modern setting compared to the classic series. It really just celebrated the show in the most minimal way possible. Because one of the biggest handicaps so far of the 60s specials is that they're trying to cram so much into 1 hour of television, and they're trying to broadcast it live instead of just going fully into this streaming that they've begun, because they signed a deal with Disney Plus, as everyone knows, to stream the series worldwide, except for in the UK, where they still have it playing on BBC One and Ireland, I suppose. Those are the two countries where they're still playing it on BBC One, and any catch-up streamers go to BBC iPlayer. But everyone else around the world can pretty much stream this at their own leisure, and it's really better for that. And if they're able to finally let go of the past and give up on this archaic form of entertainment, then the show will honestly be able to improve and reach the kind of heights that Wild Blue Yonder reached. Because most of the problems with the modern show, especially with a 60-year history, is that they're releasing a bunch of little clips on social media, paying influencers to explain aspects of lore or plot or character from however long ago in these little vertical videos, so that casual viewers or even fans of only a certain time, or people who are coming back or in and out, whatever, or people who have just forgotten because life is busy, um, they kind of just hope that those people will run into the social media posts in order to understand what the hell is going to happen in the next episode. And it would be massively improved by just giving up on BBC One, letting it go, because the kind of stories they're trying to tell require more than 60 minutes of screen time. And if the time slots on live TV in the UK don't work for that, why does the rest of the world have to settle for subpar entertainment and versions of these episodes that have been massively cut? A lot of deleted scenes that would have massively improved it. Plot threads are gone, characters are gone, deeper characterization is gone. With all the things you lose, directors and writers can be dissatisfied with the edits that seem really hasty and rushed towards the end. The Star Beast, the first special I reviewed, definitely was a victim of anticlimax, rushed climax problem. It was definitely a huge issue, and I'm trying to avoid talking about the third special in this one, since this is supposed to be a review of the second one. But a sneak preview for the review of the Giggle I'm going to post soon is after this one, is that it was also rushed, and many aspects of it also felt anticlimactic, mainly because it seems like these are ideas that need more episodes, more, or just more time to have breathing room, and they're being compressed and slammed down into these 60-minute episodes as if there's a mandate. And it seems that the next series, which is going to start in May, is streaming on Disney Plus around the world, except for Britain, where it'll be on live TV for the 4 million people that still watch BBC One at any given time for Doctor Who. It's a little bit odd, but each episode is going to be around 50 minutes, and there's going to be about 9 of them per season. Compare that to the past, where when Russell revived the show in 2005 with a much smaller budget, he was doing 13 episodes per year plus a Christmas special. So you would have 14 episodes per year, roughly, of about the same length. because each episode was around 45 to 50 minutes on average, sometimes dipping down to 42 minutes if Chris Chibnall wrote it. But all in all, it seems like the show is losing depth and it's embracing camp and fantasy, and it's also signing deals to become a big streaming sensation, but it's got cold feet, 1 foot half in, half out. Like, it doesn't want to fully embrace the deal that it made with Disney Plus, and it doesn't want to fully embrace the spin-offs that people want, like a Paul McGann spin-off for the 8th Doctor, a 14th Doctor spin-off that revolves around more than The Quiet Life, things like that. So the heading to this episode is this episode in particular is what the show should be, but it's probably not going to do this in favor of what it's actually doing instead. So I hope that makes sense. But anyway, on to the actual episode. Wild Beyonders is so much fun because of how little you would know going into it. Most of the episode remained unspoiled, even by leaks, which was a fantastic achievement by everyone involved, especially given the fact that they had a read through with like 120 people there, and it was a big production. That's a great accomplishment, and I'm very happy for them that they were able to keep it a secret, because it was very special seeing everything actually unravel without having any idea what it was going to be. And the redacted cast members from Doctor Who magazine was genius, because the cast list for this episode was David Tennant, Catherine Tate, redacted, redacted, redacted. And all three of those redacted names were absolutely wonderful to see. There were 2 great surprises and 1 half surprise with those 3 redacteds. So I'd encourage you to go watch it if you want to know who those are, because I'm mostly going to try and stay spoiler free for this one to keep up with the spirit of the episode itself. I'll be talking more spoilers in the Giggle review and the future of the show in the next one. But this one, what I can say about it is that it really focused on this exploring a mysterious spaceship in a mysterious part of space, pretty much alone. That's the premise, and it follows through wonderfully. And it really gives impressions of a higher budget mix between the episode Midnight, where the Doctor gets stuck on a train car on a planet, a diamond planet called Midnight, and a mysterious entity starts banging on the outside of the walls of the train car. And the whole thing with that is that there literally cannot be anything that would survive on the surface of the planet, thanks to the heat, thanks to the radiation. So that was the big mystery of that one. And then a very creepy, strange turn of events where the banging gets super loud, the car shakes, and then one of the passengers begins going completely catatonic and then repeating everything everyone says. It was very creepy and interesting. I would recommend, if you haven't seen it yet, go to HBO Max and watch Midnight. But this episode took everything that worked with that one and made it even better. Higher budget, a more interesting location. The special effects are definitely upgraded. And even though Midnight was made on a budget and it knew how to use the budget for fantastic highlighting of the actors and their amazing performances with nothing to distract from those performances by way of special effects, this one was pretty interesting too, because in a lot of ways the special effects made a lot of the suspense and the horror of this one possible. And it was very cool to see 2 sides of the same coin. On one hand, you have the story. Midnight was great because it was low budget, and then this one, it was like a version of Midnight that was great because it had more budget to play with. And both ways were equally, almost equally incredible. And a lot of the success from this episode also is that it's able to balance tones very well. And it's able to capitalize on some very poorly drawn up story ideas from the previous showrunner that, half-baked ideas that um, didn't affect his main character at all because he really struggles to write characters, and um, he really struggled to put together scenes where a character would have the ability to actually recognize some sort of fallout or cope with some sort of issue that happened in any of the episodes he wrote or oversaw as showrunner. So it was very cool to see um, his successor actually pick up the slack, take the ideas that he came. It's getting confusing. Chris Chibnall made up some ideas. Russell T Davies took over and he wrote these 3 specials. But in the process of writing these specials, he took the ideas that Chris Chibnall made, and he actually had his character, the main character who went through those events, um, have a chance to handle and confront the fallout from those events. And that's something that Chris Chibnall really failed to do at any point. He always wanted his 13th Doctor, played by Jodie Whittaker, to be viewed as this perfect person on a pedestal who could never do any wrong and never had to really deal with anything because she could just say she was so socially awkward to get out of any and every confrontation that could possibly have an effect on her character. Because he mostly writes one-dimensional cardboard cutouts that are supposed to just show people something and never really change that. And she was supposed to show perfection and always have her boots licked, even when she was horribly, horribly wrong in any situation. So, for example, if she says that it is morally superior to starve and suffocate and slowly kill a bunch of large spiders rather than just put them out of their misery quickly because she doesn't like guns or whatever, at the end of that episode, all the companions are literally said, like, you're like the best person ever. Like, you're amazing. You're so amazing. How wonderful. And, it's crap like that that make people quit watching a show because when the main character can't even be confronted over their objectively morally horrible theories and proclamations, it fails to be a show or a story that is capable of challenging anything that the so-called protagonists believe or say or do. And that's fine for Sesame Street, but it's not very interesting for sci-fi or character dramas. It just kind of makes people tune out and fall asleep, not care, and gravitate towards other stories, since there are now countless other versions and possibilities with this IP where those challenges are actually there and the writing is more than one-dimensional deep. You have Big Finish audios and books and comics and other episodes and seasons from other showrunners and all sorts of things, and um, blaming the gravitation away from one certain showrunner's work on isms is really childish and juvenile. It doesn't actually address the main beef of the problem from what occurred, because he started with massive curiosity ratings at the beginning of his era, and they very, very quickly tumbled into all-time lows. And but his high ratings occurred in a time where streaming was massive. It's not like streaming handicapped his work or everyone just started streaming things instead. He actually did start with a massive audience and managed to alienate most of them over the course of a single season and over the course of 3 years and then eventually 5 years, also counting the pandemic as some blame. He lost most people who would have been interested even in a 60th anniversary celebration. So a lot of the work that Russell's had so far has been uphill battles, and even then he has still been very strangely egotistical and self-righteous in a lot of ways, and antagonistic towards people who would be interested in coming back on. So I'm not 100% sure what the strategy is here long term. I guess they just feel like they're too big to fail at this point. But anyway, it was one of the good highlights of this episode was seeing some of those events actually have a fallout and actually be addressed and, you know, seem as if they really happened instead of just acting like they didn't or have everyone wondering what's going on with that or is it going to be retconned. The decision was made pretty early on not to retcon it or sweep it under the rug, but it also wasn't very, very deeply addressed. It was only a few passing mentions and one scene in particular. So it was interesting to see what effect that would have on the character if a writer who actually cares about the character and the events surrounding the character would take over. And it just once again solidifies the fact that Chris Chibnall should never have even been in consideration for the job, much less have ever even gotten the job after interviewing a few people. Like, that's wildly insane to me. It reeked of Hillary Clinton, my turn ethics. Like, just give it to him because he wants it. Like, it's a very bad reason to give someone something, especially a 60-year-old sci-fi show that is beloved by millions of people worldwide. Seems like a dumb idea, but some bad ideas can be corrected over time, and they've done everything they could to correct what he did in these anniversary specials. And this one just completely gives the whole show over to David Tennant and Catherine Tate to show us exactly why they deserve to come back whenever they want, and why whenever they do want to team up for any show or movie, they should be immediately hired. They should be brought back. What an incredible, strange fever dream it is to people who watched the show like 15 years ago and actually get to see them coming back. And even though the Star Beast horrendously handled the way that Donna got her memories back, post that, it's great because she's no longer overpowered with all of this Time Lord mentality and thoughts in her head, but she's also still Donna with all of her memories. It really is like the lovely extension to season 4 that everyone wishes they could have gotten, or just one more. It would have been really incredible if David and Catherine had been able to stay for just one more season, do season 5 before handing it over, because it really feels like we didn't get enough of them. And this episode gives you a lot of what you might have been able to get with that. It's a wonderful tease. And yeah, I really wish that the stars would align perfectly for some kind of spin-off show between them, because it's absolutely wonderful watching them work again, and they really eat it up, and you could tell that they have so much more fun when they get to be these characters and have this setting than a lot of other possibilities. And they have worked together since on other projects, but this one is by far and away so exciting, and it's really wonderful to see them kind of isolated alone, because the entire runtime is mostly dedicated to their relationship and how they get out of trouble, what they do when danger approaches in this new lives that they have. Because Donna now doesn't just have to worry about herself, and she doesn't just hate herself all the time and feel horrible about herself, and she no longer just uses brash, overstrong caricature of herself. She doesn't have to put on like this barbarian front to disguise her softer side anymore. She's now a mother and a wife, and for the first time in a long time, she feels like a true daughter, because her own mother is kind of slackened off a little bit and stopped being so hard on her and so nasty on her when she finally took over more of a caretaker role in the wake of Donna losing her memories and having her quote unquote breakdown at the end of season 4. So it's really great to see just the evolution of the relationships between Donna's entire family and how that's all kind of, Wilf is the only one who hasn't really changed. which is really, really lovely and fitting. But there's more at stake for every adventure she goes on and any danger she comes across. It's just, it's so much more heightened by the fact that you actually do care about like some of her family members, and you do care about what her death would do to affect them or what their deaths would do to affect her. It just, the stakes are massive. And with David, it's always incredibly difficult to see the possibility of him being the Doctor and dying or regenerating again. Traumatic is an understatement for the end of time and his first departure from the show. And it's always really tragic too when such a young, quote unquote, or such a new regeneration um, dies so quickly. It is really a shame when an incarnation does not have a fair shake, and if they don't get to hang around for a while, it is always a bummer. It feels like a waste. In the olden days, it felt like much more of a waste when there actually was a regeneration limit. But the regeneration limit is another thing that got very, very sloppily retconned by Chris Chibnall, and it's something that the show still hasn't quite recovered from, and Russell has definitely not found any sort of way to alleviate that or bring back the mystery, or, well, okay, not the mystery, but he's definitely not found a way to bring back the stakes and the danger of regeneration. Because the way Chris Chibnall wrote it was that if the main character is just this random god from another universe who fell through some sort of gate and got experimented on, what exactly does that mean? Well, unlimited regenerations means that none of them matter. You can literally just sit there and kill the Doctor all day, over and over and over again, and it literally could go on for infinity. It would not matter. In the old days, there was a limit. You could regenerate 12 times for a total of 13 incarnations, and then you're done. And of course, Moffat wrote around this for one of his finales because he realized that he had used them up by shoehorning in some sort of war incarnation so that he can make a Time War retcon. And he had the Time Lords give the Doctor another 12 regeneration, a whole new cycle. In retrospect, should have been Paul McGann. So as much as I love John Hurt, Paul McGann really should have been the one in the 50th. And the cycle would have at least stayed alive for one more, and then Capaldi should have been the one getting a whole new regeneration cycle, and it would have thematically and narratively made a whole lot more sense if a whole new regeneration cycle was given, and then that's when the first female incarnation came in. It would make a lot more sense to say, like, well, it's a new cycle and it's way more unpredictable than your last cycle. And also thematically, where it's like, well, this is the first time we've done this, so wouldn't it make sense for it to be on a whole new cycle, like a whole new breath of life? And this cycle will probably have more female incarnations. Just, ideas like that. But anyway, Wild Blue Yonder, it deserves every bit of praise it's getting, and anyone shellacking it really loves to gloss over the flaws of their own favorite episodes and their own favorite eras, because this one is one of the best of the best. It is a horror mystery. It's really funny too, though, and the humor keeps it going, and it's got a great pace. Pretty much everything about it was wonderful, and there's very little to hate, and most of it was lovable. And I really don't want to spoil it, so all I can say is just go watch it. You won't regret it. Get Disney Plus, watch Wild Blue Yonder, even if you don't care about the show or any of the other episodes. Just put it on. It really is just a really cool hour of science fiction. It's really great. I can't recommend it enough. And as far as the rabbit holes I keep falling down with the show, I'll just address them all in the Giggle review coming up next. But just for this one, I just have to say, it was the first episode in a long, long time where I really felt like the show truly is back and it has a chance to be great again. Um, Not just in terms of who's the lead actor. That's not the biggest problem for me. What matters to me most is the story and the setting and the sci-fi and how you handle that. And as the show tumbles further and further into strange, inconsistent, messy fantasy, so too maybe my time with it might be dwindling down. I did hop back on after Chibnall left, hoping that with his absence, the show would go back to a new, fresh, but still recognizably um, great and respectable direction. But it seems to be on pretty shaky ground still. After these 3 specials, I'm not sure where it's going or the directions I can see it going, and I'm not sure if they're going to be very good or successful. So it's just a whole new investigation, and season 1 next May will answer a ton of those questions. But all in all, though, this episode was really the one we've been looking for quite some time, and it's probably the best Russell's going to be able to do upon returning. Sad to say, but based on his writing from the first and third specials, and a lot of the things he's saying, and a lot of the indications he's giving about the future and his run and what's going to be going down, I can't say with full confidence that he's going to be able to recapture the success he had the first time that he rebooted the show and brought it back, and revived it is the right word. This is more of a reboot coming up. It looks like it's on thin ice. And while I would see a lot of what's going on so far as a slight improvement over Stephen Moffat's tenure from 2010 to 2017, and a massive improvement over Chris Chibnall's 2018 to 2022 run, it still is nowhere near as good as a lot of the classic series, and it's nowhere near as good as Russell's first 2005 to 2010 run. While Yonder is pretty much the only one that gets there and hits that mark. So I hope that he takes this one as the blueprint and the indication for what he should be doing, even though it seems to fall on deaf ears, because he seems to be going much more in a Star Beast / Giggle sort of direction, which is, again, strange and slightly tonally inconsistent, but we'll get there when we get there. Until then, enjoy this episode. Watch it. It's very good. It's just great sci-fi. It's kind of like a mix between Alien and The Thing, and it's not very long, so hope you enjoy it.